Hello and welcome to our program. This is our weekly program for the English viewers. We are going to be continuing with the 15th part of the story of Jafar As-Sadiq, the stripper, the life of his, covering his whole entire life and seeing what he does. As usual, I'm going to share the link in Telegram for myself and all those who watch us from Telegram. This way I can click on it myself and make sure that it goes into my cell phone so that I can watch it live with you and see if there's any problems with it and see if we can fix whatever the problem is. Okay, so now I have it in my phone. We can start. As you guys remember, last week we left off. Let me see if I can find it. I have to first bring it up and then do that. Last week where we left off, we were talking about how Jafar As-Sadiq was teaching us in many different places about prophets that are all animals. And soon you will see it because now I'm sharing it with you on screen where we left off last week. We've learned about prophet donkey. We've learned about female cow prophets. We've learned about wolf prophets. We've learned about how there are other prophets which are animals who are yet to be talked about. Remember, I told you there was an ox, there was a bull. So we will eventually reach those ones today. Apparently, there were tons and tons of prophets during the time of this Muhammad character. And it's surprising that they all have miracles, but the Quran, the actual book of this statue god named Allah, who wrote this book by himself. Apparently in this book, he says Muhammad has no miracles. Yet the Muslims are adamant, like they know for sure that Muhammad had miracles, which means either the Muslims are right and Allah is wrong, or Allah is right and all the Muslims are wrong. But that's a dilemma for the Muslims. They got to pick which one of them is wrong and which one is right. If the Muslims are right, then they know better than Allah, which means they are also gods like Allah, which means they're worshiping everything. They're worse than the Hindu at this point. But if Allah is right, then all of them are wrong. So they don't know what they're worshiping in the first place because they're saying opposite of their so-called God. Anyway, let's continue from this page where we were at last week to see what surprises we have for you this week. Come on. Okay. So this week we are going into this book, Sahih Muslim. Now don't let any Shia Muslim fool you, ladies and gentlemen. The Quran came way later in a book format than this book. This book was written before the Quran, especially the 34 Qurans they have today. Okay? Don't let Muslims tell you lies. Muslims lie about everything. Everything. And most of them don't even know they're lying to you because they were lied to. And they're just repeating the lie like a parrot. So Muslims will tell you they have only one Quran, but that turns out to be a lie because even today, right now as we are speaking, Muslims have more than 34 Qurans. The two major Qurans out of these 34 are the Hafs Quran and the Warsh Quran. There's two that are very big and famous. Why? Because most of the Muslim world uses these two Qurans. And they don't know that the Quran they're using, what it's called, and that there's a different one. For example, in most of Africa, the most famous Quran is the Warsh Quran. Africa makes up 20% of all the Muslims on the planet. So 20% of the Muslims are using Warsh Quran. And majority of those are Sunnis. Then we have the Hafs Quran. The Hafs Quran is the most popular Quran everywhere else. So almost everywhere you go, other than Africa, you're probably going to see the Hafs Quran. However, in the rest of the Muslim world, there will be places where you may go to, and they're not using Warsh or Hafs, and they're using others. Okay? That's how you get 34. But let's stick to these two main Qurans. The Warsh will say a sentence opposite of the Hafs. The Hafs, which is the most popular, both used by Shias and Sunnis, I may add, got its name from a gentleman named Hafs. Hafs was a person who lived long ago, and he used to collect books from others, meaning he would wait for someone to write a book. Then he would go to that author and say, "Can I see your book? I want to read it and I want to learn what you wrote." And the person would say, "Sure." And they would give him the book to read, because back then there wasn't a printing press. You didn't go to, your guy and say, "Hey, can you make 10,000 copies of this or 100,000 copy of this?" The publisher wasn't there to say, yeah, sure. You wrote the book yourself. You put it together yourself. And then you had your copy. And everywhere you went, you took your book with you and you opened it and you showed it to people and you said, look what it says. So Hafs would come and take these books, and he would run away with the books, and he would tell everybody that he wrote them. So he used to steal people's books and pass it as his own knowledge. Because of this, there are many fatwas about this Hafs, that any hadith, which are the sayings of the Prophet, the actions of the Prophet, or actions of other people that the Prophet went and said is a good thing to do and promoted, all of those are called hadith. Any hadith that Hafs recites, you are not allowed to accept, because he's not a reliable source, as he was a thief. This Hafs character went ahead and started reciting the Quran on a Quran that he had stolen. Majority of the Muslim world seems to accept his recitation of that Quran, meaning that Quran that Hafs was reciting from, they don't have. It's lost. No one can produce it. But Hafs, based on the recitation he did, they wrote this Quran back in 1924 from Al-Azhar University in Egypt. Al-Azhar has nothing to do with the Prophet of Islam. Al-Azhar was not a creation of Prophet of Islam. Came long after. So the Quran that the Muslims have today is less than, well, you could say it's exactly next year, it'll be 100 years old. So right now it's still less, it's 99 years old. The revised edition of it was done in 1985. So the Quran that majority of Muslims today use is very new. It's a new Quran. And then they will say, based on Hafs recitation, based on so and so, 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 and eventually based on the recitation of the Sahaba. In reality, the Sahaba is Uthman. And who is Uthman? Uthman is a Sahaba that when he became a Khalif and the third Khalif after the death of Muhammad, the Muslim world at that time revolted against him. They killed him. They buried him in a Jewish cemetery because they denounced him as a Muslim and said he has no right to be in a Muslim cemetery. And later on, they had to buy that land to bring him back into the fold of Islam. So the guy who they say is supposedly everything's attributed back to him by recitation based on Hafs, learning from another guy's book, based on another guy's book, based on another guy's book, and another guy, 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 eventually goes to a guy that during his time, he was so evil that the Muslims, who are already evil, were saying he's not one of us. And they said he has to go with the others. And hence, in the Muslim mind, nothing's more evil than a Jew. Hence, they buried him with the Jews. And that's the guy that they say they got the Quran from. So the Quran just went up in the air, poof, and it's gone. This book, on the other hand, was written about 250 or so years, give or take, after the death of the Prophet of Islam. Hence, this book has been around much longer than the Quran, meaning it's more trustworthy than the Quran. On top of that, this book was written at least 150 years before any Shia book was ever written, meaning all the big names of Shia Islam who were scholars had to rely on learning from this book in order to become knowledgeable enough to write their own books. So don't let the Shia fool you where you find a story from this book and they say, and play a game of, oh, that's not our hadith. Oh, we don't believe that one. Oh, no, 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 it's not ours. Well, they learned it from this. Where else were they learning from? And according to Shia Islam, the teachers of all of these guys, meaning Muslim's teacher was Bukhari. Bukhari's teacher was another idiot. And all these idiot teachers, all, according to Shia Islam, go back to Jafar As-Sadiq, who supposedly is the teacher of the schools of thought of Sunni Islam as well. All those Hanafi, Maliki, Hanbali, and the list goes on. They are all students of Jafar As-Sadiq, who are also students of each other underneath his tree of knowledge. And then we find out that he was one of many teachers that they all had. But as we see, they all only came to him because he was the comedian of the time. So they needed a laugh. So they used to come to him, see what he said. But nevertheless, if we go with the Shia terminology, he is the teacher of all these people, meaning anything they put in their books, they learned from Jafar As-Sadiq. That is why we included this in. You needed to know this as a non-Muslim population, or maybe even those who speak English and are Muslim from places like Pakistan or Indonesia or other African countries who don't speak Arabic or Persian and absolutely know nothing about your religion, but you think you know about your religion. You all also needed to know this background so that you would understand what we are about to tell you and not fall into the traps of the Muslim games. Now that you know about this book, let's go to the page in this book. I will blow it up for you as usual so you can see the page. And that red square that you see is the story in Arabic. And of course, they cannot translate this to any other language, because if they do, a lot of people will leave the religion, except if you translate it to Urdu for the Pakistanis, and then translate off of that Urdu to Dari for the Afghanis. Those two groups, when it comes to religion, unfortunately, their brains don't work very well. And what they read, they can't understand. It's not that we hate some people or anything like that. No, we're just going by the title that Islam gave them and by the common sense that we see in their people. Where in other Muslims, you see that they will think about stuff. In these two groups, they don't seem to really think much. It's like they lack thinking when it comes to religion. Sure, you can find some of them to become great engineers. You can find some of them to even be great doctors or surgeons, and they can have different roles in life, and they may be very, very good in that. But when it comes to religion, apparently there's no difference between them and your common farm animal. They have the same understanding. If you read to a sheep about Quran, and you're not looking, it might eat some of those pages, as the time sheep did when Muhammad died, and the time sheep jumped in and threw him off the bed and ate some of the Quran that they had collected at that time. I think it was a Mossad sheep, because, you know, everything in Islam is blamed on the poor Jew. However, today, why I say that, everyone's seen it. The Pakistanis are eating the Israeli flag. So, sheep eats some of your paperwork, and the Israeli eats a flag. I mean, the Pakistani eats a flag. So, no much difference between a Pakistani and a sheep. I mean, they're relatively the same. When it comes to religion, they're the same. So don't expect the Pakistani to think if he reads this or we read it to him, he'll probably still stay with the same thing. However, for the rest of the Muslims, and definitely you, the people who are not Muslim, who speak English, who are going to watch this, this will impact you. And you will think about it, and you will say, what kind of religion is this? The only other group that will probably read this and rejoice in their religion would be the Hindu, because we're talking about cows. And cows are very high prestige. Cow is a god. Anyway, here's the story of the bull. I've blown it up for you as much as possible. Don't forget, if you want these sources, take pictures. You can tell your phone to take a picture, or better yet, I would suggest, this is what I would suggest. If I were you, and I'm not because I'm me, but if I were you, this is what I would do. If I were you watching this program, I would watch this YouTube program on TV. Yeah, I'd bring it up on my TV. Then I would use my phone to take pictures, because if you have a 60-inch TV, this is really big. You take a nice big picture. Then you email that to yourself so that you can go to your computer. Then in your computer, you can open up a file and you can put them in those files. That way you can have different files for different things saved up. And that way, whenever you get in a discussion with a Muslim, you can email them one after another, like little bombs, boom, 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 boom. And then that Muslim will run away because they'll know you know too much and they can't communicate with you and fool you. And if your kids go to school and in your classrooms, they teach your kids that Islam is a great religion, and promote it to them like they should be joining it. When they come home, you can show them boom, 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 all these things, so that your kid won't fall for it, won't get fooled, and tomorrow won't be labeled and monitored as a terrorist supporter of Hamas in the streets, like you see them turning into now. So if you want your child to be saved from this in the future, this is what you do. Back to the story. I talked enough. Back to the story. The story of the bull. That's the male cow. You all know. Female cows are cows. The males are the bulls. Okay, so now let's see what the bull does. Here we have the big long names again, Ibn blah blah blahs and the Sheikh blah blah blahs. Anyway, he's telling us on the first 10 days of Muharram. Muharram is a month. Muharram is the first month in the Arab calendar, which is based on the rotation of the moon as far and long as you can see with your own eyes the new moon. That means that the new month has started. And the first month out of their 12 months is Muharram. So now we're talking about the first 10 days of the first month in the Islamic calendar. Now you all know what this is. Oddly enough, those 10 days are the same 10 days that Shia Muslims beat themselves, cry about the grandson of Islam who was massacred and killed by the hands of, you guessed it, all the other Muslims of his time. So, yes, Muslims kill. Why not? Why not? I mean, if they killed the grandson of the Prophet of Islam, what do you think they would do to the poor Jew? Anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about here. In the first 10 days of Muharram, many people who reside in Damascus said, Damascus, by the way, back then, Damascus was all of Syria. But here, when we're talking about Damascus, we're talking about actually the actual city of today, Damascus. Okay? Said, and that is known in Damascus, meaning if you go to Damascus today, this story is known. And it has been narrated very much from the jurists of Jafar As-Sadiq. One of, the guy puts in there in brackets, villages of Damascus. Okay, the jurists, the learned of Damascus and this little village, what are they going to tell? That he talked, who? To a bull. Who talked to the bull? From Jafar As-Sadiq. And the summary of the story. Do you know why they're doing summary? The story is so out of the ordinary that even them who are writing it, they're having a hard time believing it. So instead of telling you the whole story and you laughing your way out of Islam, they decided to shorten it, compact it, to somehow make it sound like it could be believable. Now let's see what this summarized version of this story is. And the summary of the story is that the bull was going out with a boy who was taking it to drink water. So after he finished, the bull, by the way, drinking, the bull, thanked Allah. The boy was surprised. The boy was like, what? You thank Allah? Even we don't do that. You do? Oh my. And he told the owner of the bull. Right? The owner of the bull, was in doubt. You see, Muslims don't believe each other because they know, you can't trust the other Muslim. Come on now. So he was in doubt. He's like, this guy's trying to pull my tail. Back then, people really did have tails. That's how that whole saying came from, pulling my tail. People back then used to have tails, and now we don't have it anymore, evolution, what can you do with it? Islam believes in evolution, by the way, but in a reverse manner. In evolution, you're taught that people were monkeys and then they turn into human beings. Well, according to Islam, surprise, surprise, Muhammad has said that according to the ayats of the Quran, the verses of the Quran, because Allah had told the Jews that you have to obey Sabbath, and the poor Jews were obeying it, and they were all fishermen. And during the whole week, when they would go out to fish, the fish were not there. But when they were on their Sabbath day, the fish would come out, jump on top of the water, use their tails to do a little dance on top of the water and say, we're here, you can't get us, ha 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 ha, you see we're here. And they would yell so loud. I don't know how everybody used to talk back then. The fish talked, everybody talked. And they would say, we're here, we're here, we're here. And these poor guys, they got upset because they have families to feed. They're all hungry. They don't eat the whole week because there's no fish. So eventually they decided to fill their hunger. And they went out to fish. And when they came back, Allah punished them by turning them into pigs and monkeys. Later on, Muhammad saw that rats also don't drink camel milk, and he knew that Jews don't drink camel milk. Hence, he came up with the conclusion that Jews will also turn into rats too. That's evolution, folks, just backwards, okay? So Islam very much believes in evolution. Don't let them fool you that they don't. When it comes to the Jews, everything, just something else. That's why they say from the river to the sea, you got to kill them all. That's what they mean. Islam is about that. It's not about land. It's about you got to fulfill the work of Allah. You got to get these Jews. But anyway, back to this story over here. So the man didn't believe this boy. And so the next day, the owner, took the bull himself to drink water. You see, they put that in brackets. And after the bull drank the water, he thanked Allah again. And on the third day, this man brought some people with him, They forgot to say that part. They just said some people came. Now, how do the people know? The guy obviously told them. So they all came to see. And when the bull came to drink the water and they saw it thanking Allah, some of them talked to the bull, meaning some of the people that came talked to the bull. Don't mistake that with the sum. Okay, this is the other sum, right? Not the sum as like the whole. The sum of, Anyway, back to the story. So the people talked to it, and the bull said, because you see, talk to it, and it said, it here is the bull. Allah has decided to the Ummah to live 7 barren years, but by the shafa'at, intercession of the Prophet of Islam. He, Allah, see, he's a he now. Okay? He, Allah, changed them. So when they tell you, Muslims say they don't know what Allah is, that's another game they were playing. No, they don't know what this Allah is. Tell them, how did you know he was a he? There's a difference between man and woman, and thank the Almighty Jesus. Today, people have finally came up with the answer to what is a woman, because all over the news and media and everywhere else, now we finally know that Hamas killed babies and women. So now we know what a woman is and what a man is, right? So the man has something between his legs that shake like this. And according to Islam, they also have 2 ornaments, like you would have jingle bells that you put on the Christmas tree. The men also have 2 ornaments down there with that thing that shakes like this, because semen comes from your backbone and not your testicles. So your testicles are just ornaments down there. So men have 2 ornaments and something that shakes like this. I'm pretty sure you all know what that is. So anyway, back to our story here. We all know what a he is. And apparently Allah has one of those that goes like this and 2 ornaments with it. Anyway, back to the story. Allah changed them. Those 7 years are now fertile years. Okay. Interesting. Prophet Bull says that the messenger can do a miracle and give you intercession. But the Quran that Allah wrote himself, not other people, he wrote it, and his archangel Jibreel decided to bring it for Muhammad and squeeze them in a bear hug 3 times really hard and make the guy not be able to breathe and almost die each time, and follow them to his house and terrorize them in his house. Yes, that Jibreel. He brought this Quran, and according to this Quran, Allah says Muhammad has no miracles. So now we don't know whose word to take. Is Allah the liar and the bull is telling the truth and the Muslims tell the truth that Muhammad had miracles? Or is Allah the one that tells the truth and this bull prophet and all the Muslims are wrong and liars? Interesting dilemma, eh? We should ask the Muslims that question. Which one of them is lying? Because if the Muslims are not lying, they know better than Allah, which means they're all gods. Anyway, back to our story here. And it said, the bull, that's why they put it in brackets for you, that the prophet asked the bull. Now, when did this prophet go to Damascus? I mean, in reality, he was born in Jordan. All of this happened in Jordan, but the Muslims' fake history says all of this happened in Mecca, in Saudi Arabia today, in the middle of a desert. And this is Damascus. You know how far it is? When did this so-called prophet go there? I mean, when he told his people to go fight the Byzantine Romans for the blondie girls, and he wanted to get some blondies in his bed, at that time, he was too scared to go, and so was his cousin / son-in-law / brother Ali. He was also too scared to go, so Ali's brother Jafar became the leader of the army, and he went over there, and the Roman Byzantine destroyed them. And this Jafar character, they cut his 2 arms, and then they killed him as a punishment. And when the news came to Muhammad, he had to turn around and say, Jafar has been turned into a bird, a green bird. Now you might be wondering, how is a green bird going to have 70 virgins and these other beings called the Huriyain, who are supposed to look like humans but are not humans, and all the wives he's supposed to have, and the 150,000 young boys that he's supposed to have, and all of what we just mentioned is supposed to be for his sexual pleasure. How is he supposed to penetrate them as a bird? Especially with a penis that is a never-ending penis. You imagine there is a never-ending penis, and then you got a green bird attached to it. And poor guy can't even flap his wings to stand up because it's going to keep pulling him down. I mean, it's never ending. And every single wife of his has a buttocks that's a mile long. I mean, that's very, very short for this never-ending penis. But imagine this woman is there watching this bird with this never-ending penis trying to jump up. Yeah, you know the story. If you don't know the story, I advise you to go see Joe Biden. Joe Biden taught it to his son, and his son is a very big jackass, and he will tell you all about it. I mean, all of his pictures are, you know. Okay, back to our story here. This bull prophet is talking to this prophet whose original name was Qatam, which means human feces. So the bull prophet is talking to the human feces prophet. And the bull, okay, the bull says here that the prophet asked the bull to spread that amongst the people. What is that? This story. What is the story? And the bull said, "Oh Rasulallah, oh Prophet of Allah." You know, bulls talk funny. What is the evidence to let them believe me? He said, you know, human feces, Prophet of Allah, you will be dead after telling them. I don't know what it is, but in Islam, everything is about death. I mean, everyone's dying. I mean, you just can't leave death alone. You know, you have to go kill the Jews. Then the Jews have to kill you. If you see a different Muslim and he has a different opinion of you, you better call him a hypocrite and kill him or her or it. You know, dogs have to be killed. Any animal that's black has to be killed. Black people have to be, well, black people, you don't kill them. You just snip, 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 castrate them, and then you turn them into your slaves, and then you call them an animal, and then once they're an animal, you know, if you don't like it and you can't sell it, then kill it. If you think I'm lying, I can provide proof from authentic sources in Islam about all these stuff. Unfortunately for you English viewers, we have to elaborate more than for the Persian viewers, because we have to get you into the know of all these things while we're telling you the story. But the Persian viewers, they know majority of this, so I don't have to cover every single angle of it, but we got to go in and out of the story to make sure you guys get the full picture. So back to what we were saying here, the poor bull prophet is going to die. The narrator says, why does the narrator talk now? Because he knows this story is so far-fetched that even he doesn't believe it, so he has to, you know, put some band-aids on it so that it'll make a little bit of sense. Narrator said, the bull went to a high point and fell down, and he died. Now in Islam, committing suicide takes you straight to hell. Notice this is the Prophet of Allah, and now he's going straight to hell. So the donkey went to hell. The horse went to hell. They both committed suicide. Now we got the bull going to hell, committing suicide. I guess they all want to be with the Prophet of Islam and their God in hell. Because, you know, on the day of judgment, Allah will put his foot in hell. So they're all going to be with Allah in hell. Okay? Oh boy. And the heaven is a prostitute brothel where you do pedophile works and anyway. So he died. People took some of his hair. This is the work of idol worship. You know, only in idol worship you find a bigger rock and you take that because it's now your God. Or you find something else that someone who they told you is great, and you take whatever he had and you hold it because you want to worship through it. So the people took some hair for barakat. Barakat, literally translated to English, means for your sustenance. You know, you say that God provides for you. That providing is this barakat. You take it so that with it, you can say, dear God, because I have this in my hand, give me food, give me money, give me children, give me this and give me that, and give me a bigger house. All of that is your sustenance, right? So that is barakat. When they put the barakat word in here, you see they try to trick the English viewers. They don't want you, the English viewer, to understand what's going on, so they throw in a little Arabic word every now and again. And by throwing it in, they think you'd be fooled. But don't worry, Dr. Mossavat is here, and our university through YouTube is here. We're going to educate you the right way so they can't fool you. Okay? The only one here who's going to be fooled is themselves. Possibly the Pakistanis and the Afghanis too. Then it was enshrouded and buried. I mean, they brought flowers. They put it over. They brought expensive sheets and they put it over it. And you know, they probably gave him some jewelry and they put that around with him. They gave him a great honor burial as it's going to hell. Author says, okay, this is now Sahih Bukhari saying, because you know everyone has to put a band-aid. Okay, so now Sahih Bukhari is saying, this story is strange. I mean, even he doesn't believe what he just read. Okay, but the narrator is trustworthy. You know, those chain of command. And he says, it is very well known in Damascus. This very well known in Damascus reminds me of the guy who says he knows everybody, and then you go around asking and nobody knows him. I mean, sometimes you show a home-based business to somebody, and the guy says to you, yes, I want to do this. I'm going to make money. This sounds so good. And then he tells you, I know everybody because I happen to be one of the 15,000 million princes of Nigeria, and I know everybody because, you know, everybody's a prince in Nigeria. I mean, just if they're a female, they're a princess, and if they're a male, they're a prince. I mean, everybody. I mean, you don't find anyone who's not a prince in Nigeria, unfortunately. Everybody's a prince. You know, I don't know how they're going to get along because, I mean, it becomes too many chiefs, not enough Indians, as the English would say. But that's the case here. So, you know, when you have that kind of a situation, I mean, who's going to work? Everybody's a prince. You can't tell the prince to work. You know, he's going to need others to work with. So I don't know what was on in Nigeria, but maybe that's why they have Boko Haram, and then they have the Shia terrorists under Imam Zakzaki, and you know he died, and now his kids are also imams. Which houses did they go to learn? Nobody knows because they didn't go to him. But they're all imams apparently. So you know there's a lot of weird things going on over there, unfortunately. But back to our story, that guy tells you he wants to do that business and he knows everybody. And then when you go around asking, nobody seems to know that guy. Okay. So that's the same story here. They tell you everybody knows the story in Damesh. But if you go to somebody from that city and you tell them this, they tell you, I don't know what you're talking. This story repeats itself in the following book. And here we go. There's the page. That's the blow up. You will have it soon. While you're waiting for it, I'm going to drink some tea. drink some more. All right. Then they decide to give you all these other names because they all told the same stupid story. Okay. The name of the next book, you can see it when it says source. And this is the book. Blow it up for you so you can see it very well. This is the page where they start telling you the story. While you're waiting, I will drink some water too. And then they start to give you furthermore names. And because the story is so far-fetched, and they need a lot of band-aids. You know, it's like a leaking faucet and you're putting band-aids underneath, you know, trying to cover it with band-aids. So the problem is, because they're running out of band-aids, they have to buy credibility for the story by telling you about the people that are reporting the story. So now they got to blow up and make the people that reported it sound big. So here's one of them. Al-Yunani, which literally means the Greek. Qutb al-Din. You know, you have to make it big, the guy has to have a name from a different continent, a European continent. And his name has to be, ironically, a name of a place where the New Testament was written in. You know, they think he's big, you know, like, oh, okay, his name is Yunani, come on, the Greek. Well, how much bigger do you want to get, Roman? Okay, a history from Bill Back in Lebanon, part of Lebanon. He was born over there and died in Damascus. Who the hell cares? He became a sheikh, a very high clergyman, not to be mistaken with sir, because sheikh has multiple meanings. Just like in English, how you can use a word to have different meanings, the way you use it in a sentence, that word could have different meanings. How you know what meaning it is? It's based on the sentence it was used in. So here, when they're using Sheikh of Bilbak, they're talking about the big scholar, the one who has the knowledge. Knowledge in what? In religion. After the death of his brother, he became a sheikh. Now here's the thing. Remember that in Islam, Muslims lie a lot. So whatever they say, it's a safe bet. If you take the opposite of it will be what is true. So when they say he was the sheikh of Bilbak, it was probably more like the court jester of Bilbak. He was a virtuous and great lecturer. So instead of virtuous, put in there the monster killer, because he would be going around as a great Muslim saying how everyone's a hypocrite and they have to die because they don't agree with him. And that guy's a Jew, he has to die. And this one is a Christian, he has to die. Everyone has to die. You know, they love death. And that's the punishment according to the Quran. You know, you got to kill. And a great lecturer means you got to go with the opposite. A poor lecturer, meaning he said the stuff that made you laugh and shake your head and look down and be embarrassed with yourself for listening. Now you got the real guy. But, they blow it up. It has to be big, Here's the next book, the name of it, and the page number, and the volume, and all that stuff. And here we're going to blow it up for you so that you can see the book. That's the cover of the book. While you're waiting for that, I'm going to go to the next page, and also I'm going to drink some water so that I don't get thirsty talking so much. Now I'm showing you the actual page and where the story is. You'll get it soon. I'm going to blow it up for you so you can see it. As usual, it's in Arabic. Soon to be translated into Urdu, and from Urdu to Dari, because Pakistanis and Afghanis, they're very slow in religion. What can you say? It's like the rest of the world is using rocket ships that go to outer space, and they're still stuck on just walking. As you guys remember, this is the color of Jafar As-Sadiq. He looked like these two owls that you see on screen. I know that we're running a little past our time. As usual, I forgot to look at the clock when I started. So I'm pretty sure we're running a little late. Next week, we will explain how he became a stripper. But this week, I also wanted to introduce you guys to Prophet Camel. Come on now, you didn't think that we had a Prophet Camel too? I mean, we had a Prophet Donkey, we had the horse, we had the wolf, we had the female cow, we had the male cow, we had the ox. Oh, I haven't told you about the ox. We'll go back for it because it's back there somewhere. I got to tell you about the ox. I mean, I cannot not leave you without the ox. But here, let's look at Prophet Camel, and then we'll go back to the ox, okay? Now here, in Arabic, the song that's being played for him, the song is about the 12th Imam of the Shias, the Mahdi. The Mahdi is also believed in by the Sunnis. Apparently, the Sunnis say he's not born yet, and he's going to be born later, while some Sunnis say that he's already come and died and passed, because we've had multiple Imam Mahdis, and they all came and died. The Shias believe that he is born, but that their God Allah has kept him hidden, so nobody can see him, but he can see everything. But he just won't interfere with anything, because all he does every day is cry for his uncle or father Hussein. Because yes, he's his uncle and his forefather. Because eventually Hassan had a daughter and Hussein had a son, and those two married each other, which means from one side he's got uncles named Hassan and Hussein, and on one side he's got fathers named Hassan and Hussein. So they're, intermixed. Anyway, back to the story. So now in that story of the Imam al-Zaman, which means the Imam of the time, which is the 12th Imam, this is supposedly his camel. Now, the Imam has never met his camel, and the camel has never met that Imam, but the Shias met the camel. And look what they are doing. In case you guys didn't figure it out, watch it one more time. All right, we have a camel here. Everybody saw the camel, right? Now, if they want to praise the camel, they can go around the camel. If you want to get some kind of a barakah from the camel, you could caress its head like you would a pet. I mean, you could touch his arms and legs. You could pull on his tail. He might kick you, but nevertheless. You might even give him a nice slap on the buttocks. You know, you could do something like that. Touch his chest, maybe, you know, do something. But they decided to go under it. Right? Now, why do you think they're going under it when they had so many choices of all these other things they could have done? I mean, they could have brought it some food so that he can eat something. They could have done a lot of things. Why go under it? Like just under it, under it. And also, why are they all women? Well, where's the men? All we found was a little boy and women. And one little boy, not two. Everybody was a woman. There's no men around. Why is only the women going under the camel? Well, I'm going to tell you. I have the actual know-how of what they're doing. The women are conducting a research here. They want to know who's got the longer, the camel or the donkey. I mean, that's the only conclusion here. Why? Because they've all heard the story. You see, the Prophet of Islam has said that when Abraham, back then, people were better than today. Today we are like, what do you think we are? I mean, remember the story of the shepherd and the wolf? The shepherd ran faster than the wolf. He caught the wolf with his hand. They used to have giant hands, man. He grabbed the wolf like this, and the wolf was like, ah. And the next thing you know, he opened the jaws of the wolf. They used to grab their sheep and goats out of the mouth of the goat, put it behind them. They would stare down this poor wolf. The wolf would, wet itself because, you saw this guy with this giant hand and it wrapped around your neck and just was like strangling you. Those back then, humans were big. Now imagine if you went further back to the time of Abraham, which they call Ibrahim. So this Ibrahim character, who is supposed to be the opposite of Abraham, according to Islamic sources from the mouth of Muhammad himself, when God, Allah here, told this Ibrahim character that he has to circumcise himself. For the women that are not Muslim, cover your ears because this is not for you. But the men, pay attention here. His penis was so long and thick and wide and strong that when he used the knife couldn't do anything. Then he brought out the scissors and he couldn't do nothing. So eventually he had to grab it with two hands, slam it on a table, bang, call his wife, because, he can't reach the front. Told you it's long. Told the wife, bring the biggest axe we have and chop just the front, okay? Don't chop from back here, just the front. We just need to snip. And she was a bad aimer. So when she took the axe, she couldn't lift it. It was heavy. And she's an old woman. You go like this and bang, and took off a couple feet. And he still had so much, Nah, today we're not even the size of just that, we all got born in the wrong time, my friend. We should have been born like 5,000 years ago. Imagine how big we would have been then, man. We'd be taller than the trees. When we walk, underneath our feet would be earthquakes. And, all the fruits would just fall down everywhere we go. And we just bend down to eat it, but then we would have a backache because you know how tall we are. We got to bend and, you know. So now these women are trying to do the exact same thing. They're doing a research study. Who has the biggest, that's what they're looking for. Let us go back to find you the story of the ox. I can't believe that I forgot to show you the story of the ox. We'll show you that and then we'll end it. This is the story of the ox. I got to go one more back to show you the book. Okay. Fortunately, I don't have the picture of the book, but I do have the page of the book. So here now we're going to be looking at the story of the ox. I'm going to blow it up for you. You're a few seconds later than me, I think, but you have it. No, it's going to be the next one for you. There we go. Now you have it. So let's read the story of the ox, and then next week we'll tell you how Jafar As-Sadiq became a stripper. Muslim ibn Hajjaj wrote the following off of Abu Huraira, the butcher of the Shia Islam. Man, they hate Abu Huraira with a passion, these Shia. What's new? Muslim hating Muslim, Muslim hating everybody else. Abu Huraira reported, Allah's messenger, human feces, Qatham, Muhammad, as saying, a person had been riding an ox. Now, viewers, listen to me carefully. Ox live in extreme cold weather, like those central and western United States that are beside Canada, and inside of Canada, and in Russia, and in northern Scandinavian parts of the countries, of the Scandinavian countries. They love the extreme cold. That's why they have those big, long furs. First question I would like to ask all of you, what was the ox doing in the middle of a desert? Who can give me the answer? Any case, a person had been riding an ox, loaded with his luggage. Where was this person going? The ox looked towards him and said, the ox did one of these, and said to the guy, I have not been created for this, but for land. Now, that's how ox talk. If you don't know, go to any of the farming zoos that they have an ox and ask him to talk to you. When he talks to you, he'll sound like that. But you have to be special. The ox won't just talk to anybody. Make sure you have your luggage ready. Make sure you're going to jump on his back with all your luggage. You have to do what this guy did if you want him to talk to you. Think about it. i.e. for plunging the land and for drawing out water from the wells for the purpose of irrigation of the land. But nowadays we use tractor trailers to do exactly what this ox says he's doing. So I guess according to Islamic laws, there's no need for the oxes anymore. We can go. Anyway, back to the story here. The people, okay, said, the ox was talking to the guy on his back, but now all the people got involved here. They have no other work or anything to do. Everyone's watching everybody. That's the entertainment. You watch each other like zoo creatures. The people said with surprise and awe, hallowed be Allah. Does the ox speak? Remember when I told you that there are a group of people that don't understand? They can't understand stuff. They can't think. They saw an ox speak. They praised the ox for speaking. And then they all turned around and asked, did the ox speak? What would you call a person that saw the ox speak, praised the ox for speaking, and then asked the question, did the ox speak? What would you call that person? I think we have lots of room in mental institutions for people like that. Allah's messenger said, human failed. I believe it, and so do Abu Bakr and Omar. Remember, he's stuck, he's like a broken record. He knows these two names. He looks around, they're not around. He's going to use their names to back himself up, just because he knows no one believes his stupid stories. So he has to, find someone who believes it so that the people will say, well, if they believe it, then they. Allah's messenger, as saying, a shepherd was tending to his flock when a wolf came and took one of the goats. What were the goats doing in the middle of a desert? And how did the wolf get to the middle of the desert again? The shepherd pursued the wolf, and rescued the goat from the wolf. The wolf looked towards him and said, remember I told you a second ago, these men, they were faster than the wolf. They used to have power, man. They just grabbed the wolf by the neck. And the poor wolf was like, oh my God, I'm going to die now. And they would just let go of whatever they had because, they don't want to die, They're like, I'm sorry. That's why the wolf spoke to them. If you want a wolf to speak to you, first things first, you need a very strong hand, like big, thick. Your fingers each should be like a tree trunk, just the fingers. Forget about the palm. Your fingers should be like tree trunks, And you need to run extremely fast, like a cheetah. They say, ready, set, go. By the time they shoot the gun, you should already be there. Okay, that's how fast of a runner you need to be. Then you go and you grab this poor wolf by his neck, with your tree trunk fingers. Forget about the palm, how big that is. And then the wolf will speak to you, okay? In Arabic, of course. So you need to also know Arabic, because what do you think? He's going to speak to you in English? Everything has been in Arabic. Come on now. You know the thing. If you don't know, Joe Biden is ready to teach you. He knows the thing. He talked about it when he was running for election. You know the thing. He always mentioned it. And if you don't find him, find his good friend Corn Pops. Corn Pops will definitely tell you about it. He's been around that Corn Pops. Joe Biden talks about him all the time. And no, we're not talking about the cereal. Anyway, back to the story. He grabbed it. The wolf looked towards him and said, who would save it on the day when there will be no shepherd except me? All wolves dream about being shepherds, Thereupon the people said, hallowed be Allah. Thereupon Allah's messenger said, you guessed it, I believe in it, and so do Abu Bakr and Omar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you like our programs, make sure you subscribe. If you're using your laptop, you can always click on one of these mouse with your holy finger and subscribe. If you're using your phone, you just press the same finger on your phone and you subscribe. Underneath our YouTube channel, there is a link to my link tree. If you click on that, it will take you to my link tree page where you will see links to all of my social media. And It only takes a second for each one if you click on them. Altogether, it should take you less than a minute to click on everything. There are things that I share that I can't share on YouTube's channel because it will close it immediately on Telegram. So it's very important to subscribe there. After Telegram, Twitter is the next one. And then the rest. From time to time, we may go to the other site. If they close down any of my sites, I will use one of the other sites to notify you what the name of the new channel might be and how to find me. So you don't have to be lost trying to find me once they close our channels. YouTube plays a lot of games, and that eventually leads to, when we get large enough, they will close the channel to protect Islam, because Islamic governments pay a lot of money to YouTube to protect them from people like us who expose the truth. So before that happens, subscribe and subscribe everywhere that I am so that you will catch it. Also, by subscribing, you will be doing us a great service, because by subscribing, you will make the algorithm of the bots in YouTube promote this to others who would be seeing other channels on YouTube that you have already seen. Hence, we can get this in the hands of more people, stop radical Islam and the terrorist movement in the West and in the East. If you want to save your country, this is one way of doing it in a very peaceful manner without having to do something that could get you in trouble with the law, which I tell you, do not do. Don't get yourself in trouble with the law. Don't do something bad. Do something good, which is very easy to do, doesn't take a lot of your time, and that is to subscribe. Also, don't forget to like our programs and leave comments, because that will also help the bots promote this program to others. It's very important you do that. We are as a team. I bring the information, you help pass it along. These are the easiest steps that you can take towards passing it along. Until next week, I leave you in the hands of Jesus. Bye for now.